week, Prince Harry stated in that now infamous interview with Oprah Winfrey that the reason why he signed on with Netflix and other sort of money-making sources was the fact that he'd been cut off financially. We've told you this before, and it's an interesting story, isn't it? Because as it was then pointed out, the then Prince Charles was funding the very first year fully financially for his youngest son. So it seemed odd, didn't it, that he would sort of say that on public international television. I mean, why would you lie about such a thing? Never really sort of brought up again. Nobody ever questioned it with him. It was also interesting to note when he popped up at the Ripple of Hope Awards, people were shouting the question, do you think you betrayed your family? That sort of stuff. And he just sort of dismissed it, saying, so many questions, that kind of thing. But now, of course, the documentary, the first 3 episodes, have been released. And as I've said in a previous report, it's vastly underwhelming when you think about it, Not quite sure exactly what they were hoping to achieve, but whatever they've done isn't really working out for them. But as ever, it's interesting to note who really decided to make the documentary. What was the turning point in this? And guess what? This just may shock you. Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the very heart of London. And as ever, nice to see you. Thank you so much for your company today. And as ever, thank you for getting involved in the previous videos. It's been lovely to have your thoughts on that. Yes, I know the one with Imelda Staunton and Jonathan Pryce, stars of The Crown, baffling, isn't it? Pop up, launch something, disappear. I'm sure they're doing things behind the scenes, but it doesn't really bode well when people are really struggling on the streets. And then you've got this monstrosity of a sculpture. I mean, couldn't the money have been better spent? Don't get me going on that. You know my thoughts already. It's interesting, though, as I say, with Prince Harry, because a lot of people are saying, well, whose idea with this is? And when you think about it, the fact that they started filming themselves already prior to leaving the British monarchy meant that they'd had an idea. And we told you previously now about a guy called Jeffrey Katzenberg, a man that I knew. He was the former CEO of Disney. He'd set up a streaming company and they were hoping to hook up with him. He even had a private meeting with Meghan and Harry in Kensington Palace. Didn't really come to anything because he knew that something like this sort of documentary wouldn't necessarily put him in a favourable light and, more importantly, sell too well around the world. So they ploughed ahead with somebody new. But according to a very good source, there were bigger people, the driving force behind this. And it wasn't necessarily all about, according to this good source, Harry and Meghan wanting to fight back and trash the monarchy. Oh no, as we know, Harry's spoken openly about his own mental health battles. And according to this source, basically, he was advised that it might be a good idea to record himself, put down his thoughts, thought processes, what he felt about things in previous years, life, all that sort of stuff. And then this may help shape his future. So, as you know, Prince Harry has spoken openly about how therapy is good for people, although apparently it wasn't a word ever mentioned to him before. More recently, in fact, earlier this year, he said more people should have therapy. It thoroughly helps them and helps shape their thought processes and how they're going to deal with their lives. So, according to that source, if anybody's responsible for this documentary, it actually isn't Harry and Meghan themselves. It was suggested by his mental health team. That's right. Now, when you think about this, we're not quite sure if they're on the executive producer panel, but one way or another, in the old days, you just wrote your thoughts down, talked to a good friend over a cup of tea, or perhaps put the radio on, cheered yourself up. But now, seemingly, even those struggling with mental health, their advice they're giving, according to that very good source, very closely associated with Prince Harry, is to simply record everything, look back at it, and see if it can help you. I don't know if there was a mention in there, Harry, about turning this into a rather lucrative, money-spearing docu-series, co-starring, of course, your wife and children. Maybe you missed that bit in the excitement to sign on the dotted line. Either way, at least we now know who is responsible for the global Netflix event. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.